Welcome to In Exile as your country hangs in the balance with those lower judges overriding the president's will in massive activism. And I don't even blame those Democrat, hippie, illegal, foul judges for attempting it. I blame the Supreme Court for not stopping them.
A federal judge today temporarily blocking the Trump administration from revoking Harvard University's ability to enroll international students.
Because this is all judicial tyranny happening on their watch. They got to stop pretending like this is business as usual or your country is over. Welcome to In Exile. I'm Jonathan Turley, one of my favorite speakers on this subject. This week, the Supreme Court continued to deliberate over what to do with the growing number of national or universal injunctions issued by federal district courts against the Trump administration. It's mostly that these are federal judges, which is different than your normal judges, that are supposed to have a local jurisdiction that they can work with. And so them going all the way up to the president and pretending like that's a local thing, and then they turn it into a national thing, say for Trump to not be able to deport illegal Venezuelans, that aren't directly under their purview. The court has long failed to address the problem and what I've called chronic injunctivitis, that is injunctions, is now raging across the court system. Justices have only worsened the condition with conflicting and at times incomprehensible opinions.
What is the Trump administration planning to do to deal with the judicial tyranny that's paralyzing the Trump administration right now?
Both Democratic and Republican presidents have long argued that federal judges are out of control in issuing national injunctions that freeze the entire executive branch for years on a given policy. For presidents, you have to effectively sweep the entire district court, 677 to 0, if you want to be able to carry out controversial measures, because any one judge of those 677 can halt the entire government. So that's what's at the very heart of this thing, showing that it is not about consent to the will of the governed, about us. We're losing our representation. And this is called judicial tyranny, what Mark Levin has called judicial tyranny. They're overstepping their boundaries. So if a judge doesn't come in and stop it, there's no recourse. We have no recourse. Neither does any president.
Tyranny, judicial tyranny. This is a judicial coup by communist Marxist judges against the laws, Constitution, and democracy of the United States. The American people held an election, voted overwhelmingly in a landslide, in a historic mandate to deliver sovereignty and security and homeland defense to this nation. We also have a toxic stew of extreme anti-Semitism, anti-Americanism, Marxism, and communism on our college campuses, aided and abetted by foreign nationals imported into this country, spreading American hate on our soil, on our college campuses. And now, in a matter of hours, literally a lawsuit is filed, and hours later, a communist district court judge says that foreign nationals living in foreign countries have a constitutional right to study in America, that we have to let communists from foreign nations into our country to poison our campuses with Marxist ideas, anti-Semitic ideas, anti-American ideas, Jew hatred. That's a constitutional right now?
Right.
This is madness.
Under President Obama, Justice Elena Kagan on the Supreme Court expressed outrage over the injunctions in public comments at Northwestern University School of Law. Kagan lashed out at the obvious, quote, forum shopping by then conservative advocates to get before favorable courts. Now, this is something that every conservative has to do, and Trump should have done more venue shopping, but he wasn't allowed to. Say move. If it's a DC court, they're going to be 92% Democrats, both the jury and the judge. So anyone involved in politics, you want to get away from them. If you're a Republican, you don't want to be tried in Manhattan. To try Trump in Manhattan for anything, it's asking a bunch of Democrats to be fair. And lo and behold, they're never, ever fair. Ever. So of course you have to venue shop. And it would be no different than if every time Biden had to go before a court, we put him before the most conservative territory in Oklahoma. Would that be fair to have Biden tried by 92% Trump voters and 92% Trump donors and 92% Trump judge appointments. Democrats had never, it would be so obvious. This is so dumb, guys.
If you get this ruling, this relief for Harvard, that means any university that tolerates extremism, anti-Semitism, anti-American, and these other poisonous ideologies would have the same right to bring foreigners to their campuses to participate in these activities. Immigration to this country is a privilege. We have the absolute right as a nation and as a people to deny the entry to anyone seeking to enter this country in order to protect the foreign policy, the national security, but also the well-being and domestic tranquility of this country. We don't need to be importing these toxic, radical, poisonous ideologies into our country. We need zero anti-American immigration. We need zero foreigners coming to this country who don't love America, who don't love our founders, who don't love our Constitution, who don't love our people, who don't love our society.
Kagan was insisting, quote, it just cannot be right that one district judge can stop a nationwide policy in its tracks and leave it stopped for the years it takes to go through the normal appellate process. Now, of course, she's a Democrat, so though she's on the Supreme Court, she surely doesn't mean this now that it would hurt Trump. She's going to turn tail and reverse and bring in more nuance on that whole idea. However, when the pending case came up before the Supreme Court on one of the Trump injunctions, Kagan suggested this was, quote, different. Did we not call it, folks? That Kagan, this is nuanced. This one's different because Trump was clearly wrong. In oral argument, Kagan snapped and backstabbed the law that she claimed to protect. Kagan politically caved, revealing herself to be, of course, I'm rewriting this article on the spot, revealing herself to be a political hack. Kagan did what every Democrat does before the law, before a justice, which is why you can never vote for a Democrat. You can never trust a Democrat lawyer. You can never trust a Democrat judge. Never be a Republican and stand before a Democrat. They can't observe any form of law. They can't follow the Constitution if there's a preferred political end in mind. Kagan snapped at the Solicitor General, quote, every court is ruling against you, unquote. It was a curious point coming from a justice who had previously acknowledged that challengers were forum shopping by going to favorable judges, as with the current cases coming out of largely blue states. She abandoned that because when Democrats pretend to quote a law or a principle or claim to believe in anything, they're lying. Kagan did not explain where the line should be drawn. It's wherever their feelings are, of course, wherever her PMS is guiding her that month, leading to speculation on when something would be viewed as just sort of wrong or really, really wrong.
Is this judge mad? Is this a lunatic? What kind of world are we even living in where we're even having this conversation? Yeah. Illegal aliens who invaded our country and murdered our people, and now we're sending them out? And a judge says no? That is a judicial coup by any definition.
This week, the Supreme Court enjoined the Maine House of Representatives from denying State Representative Laurel Libby her right to speak and vote on the floor in an outrageous action the Democrat majority had effectively taken Libby's constituents hostage by telling her that unless she apologized for identifying a transgender athlete in public comments, that is, calling a biological male athlete a male, which is what she did, she could not vote. The Supreme Court voted 77-2 to lift the ban, with Kagan joining the more conservative justices.
But again, you have a handful of judges elected by nobody, sitting in local cities and communities, claiming that they can rule over the foreign policy, national security, and defense of the entire United States, to micromanage the activities of our Defense Department, of our federal immigration officers, of our cabinet secretaries. In other words, judges who will claim the powers of a king, all for the purpose of the mass importation of illegal aliens. The Democrat Party has as its highest focus, its orienting, overwhelming mission, the mass importation of illegal aliens into this country, mass third world migration. That is what the entire Democratic Party now serves and exists for, not the American people.
To vote for Democrats.
They don't act like impartial judges, which a judge is supposed to be, neither a Democrat nor a Republican. All of these are Democrat. They all act like Democrat. They promote Democrats. They attack Republicans. They even overstep their own boundaries as a lower court and go above the presidential office, the third branch of government, in what is a constitutional crisis. If the Supreme Court doesn't fix this, only these 670 Democrat judges are doing it, of course. That's why you never put an X next to a Democrat. I'm Doug in Exile.